Trump never expected this. For decades, Americans strolled into countries around the world with no paperwork, no interviews, just the blue passport and a smile. That passport was more than an ID. It was a symbol of American privilege, a golden ticket that opened borders and invited respect. But in 2025, something snapped. Around the world, countries that once welcomed Americans with open arms have decided to slam the door shut. They are tired of being taken for granted, tired of being treated like junior partners, and most of all, tired of giving visa-free access to U.S. citizens while watching their own people humiliated in American embassies. Under Donald Trump's renewed America First doctrine, diplomacy has been replaced with demands, alliances with threats, and respect with arrogance. The result? A wave of retaliation disguised as reciprocity. For the first time in modern history, Americans must now queue, pay, and plead for entry, just like the rest of the world. So what are the countries turning against the U.S.? What triggered this sudden visa revenge? And could this mark the beginning of the end for America's travel dominance? In this video, let's find out. Number 10. Brazil. Brazil was once a shining example of South America's hospitality, especially toward U.S. travelers. With no visa required, Americans could dance at Rio's carnival, cruise down the Amazon, or surf along Bahia's coastlines with just a passport in hand. That golden age of effortless travel ended abruptly on April 10, 2025, when Brazil officially reinstated visa requirements for all U.S. citizens. The trigger? A long-simmering issue of reciprocity. For years, Brazilians have had to endure an exhausting U.S. visa process, filling out extensive forms, booking interviews at consulates, waiting weeks, and often facing rejection despite having solid travel plans. The asymmetry had become a source of national frustration. Brazil warned Washington multiple times, "Treat us fairly, or we will respond in kind." But under Trump's foreign policy, where hardline stances are praised and diplomatic concerns often brushed aside, those warnings were ignored. So Brazil pulled the plug. Now, if Americans want to attend the next carnival, they will need to plan in advance, applying for a visa online, submitting documentation, and paying around $80. And this isn't just bureaucratic revenge. Brazilian officials say the new policy reinforces national dignity. If Brazil's citizens aren't afforded hassle-free travel, neither will the U.S. It's a signal, not just to America, but to the rest of the global South. Sovereignty means balance. Number 9. Namibia. Namibia, known for its hauntingly beautiful skeleton coast and the vast Namib Desert, was once one of Africa's most welcoming destinations for American visitors. Its stable governance and low crime rates made it a haven for safari lovers and nature tourists. But in April 2025, Namibia joined a growing list of African nations drawing a line in the sand. From this year onward, Americans must apply for a visa, either online or upon arrival, and pay a fee of approximately $88. While the process remains accessible, the symbolism is far deeper. Namibia's move is part of a continental reawakening, a quiet revolution in Africa's diplomatic posture. For decades, African nations bent over backward to appease Western tourists and governments, granting them free access, offering favorable trade deals, and tolerating dismissive rhetoric. Under Trump's leadership, however, African nations have increasingly been reduced to footnotes in global strategy. Trump referred to some African nations as irrelevant, while his administration slashed aid and openly backed authoritarian allies across the continent. Rather than launch counterattacks or fiery speeches, African countries like Namibia are choosing a more effective weapon: policy change. Visa restrictions are not a punishment. They are reassertions of equal status in global relations. Namibia wants structured tourism, improved data on who enters, and a system that respects national boundaries. It also aims to monetize its tourism more effectively, directing funds into conservation and infrastructure. In essence, Namibia's message is this: you don't get a pass just because you are American. Not anymore. Number 8. European Union. If there was one region Americans assumed would never close its gates, it was Europe. The historic friendship between the US and Europe, cemented in the trenches of World War II, nurtured during the Cold War, and maintained through NATO, was once thought unbreakable. But 2025 has brought an end to that fantasy. With the full implementation of the European Travel Information and Authorization System, U.S. citizens now must apply for entry before arriving in any of the 26 Schengen nations. That means paying a €7 fee, submitting personal information, and waiting for authorization before stepping foot in France, Italy, Germany, Spain, or even tiny Luxembourg. ETIAS is officially framed as a security upgrade, designed to align with the US ESTA system and improve border data sharing. But behind the curtain lies a deeper motive: political retaliation. During Trump's presidency, relations with the EU steadily deteriorated. He mocked European leaders, withdrew from key climate and security agreements, and imposed unilateral tariffs on steel, automobiles, and other goods. He also emboldened far-right movements across Europe, applauding Brexit and praising populist parties in France, Hungary, and Italy. ETIAS may not be a full-blown visa, but its psychological impact is the same. You are no longer privileged. Americans can no longer just show up at the airport with a backpack and wander through ancient alleys in Rome or sip espresso in Paris without first going through digital screening. This shift is a statement of equality, not hostility. Europe is telling Americans, politely but firmly, that mutual respect now means mutual requirements. Number 7. United Kingdom. In 2025, even America's most loyal ally, the United Kingdom, decided it was time to put up walls. The land of Shakespeare, the Queen or King, and special relationships, has implemented a system that says, no one is above the rules, not even Americans. Under the UK's new electronic travel authorization system, US citizens are now required to apply online before traveling to any part of the United Kingdom. That includes England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. The process involves a £10 fee, submission of personal details, and an official digital clearance before you even board a flight. Gone are the days of spontaneous weekend trips to London or road trips through the Lake District. Now, whether you are visiting for business in Canary Wharf or hiking through the Highlands of Scotland, your entry depends on prior authorization. But why the shift? Part of it stems from Brexit. Once the UK left the European Union, it gained full control over its borders and immigration system. And in the post-Brexit world, London is no longer obliged to harmonize its border policies with the EU's Schengen zone. But the other half of the story: politics. Trump's transactional approach to diplomacy, like questioning NATO, insulting EU leaders, and pushing trade barriers, didn't go unnoticed. British officials may not say it publicly, but privately, many believe the US has become unpredictable. The UK's ETA system is both a security measure and a symbolic reset, a reminder that even historical friendships must now go through paperwork. The message is clear: the era of unquestioned access is over. Number 6. China. China has never been a visa-free destination for Americans, but 2025 has turned its visa system into something far more chilling: a political sieve. The tension between Washington and Beijing has escalated, particularly under Trump's return to power. His unapologetic support for Taiwan, interference in Hong Kong, and continued tariff wars have hardened China's stance. In response, Beijing has subtly transformed its visa process into a selective, politicized tool. Today, U.S. journalists, academics, Government workers and even ordinary tourists are finding it harder than ever to enter China. Some applications sit in limbo for weeks. Others are quietly denied with no explanation. Background checks now scan social media, affiliations, past travel history, and even statements made online. One traveler reported being asked whether they supported the U.S. stance on Xinjiang or Tibet during their visa interview. Another, a student researching global economics, was detained at the airport for verification and sent back the same day. There's growing evidence that visa access is being weaponized to punish ideological dissent. China calls it national sovereignty. Critics call it digital diplomacy warfare. Either way, if you are an American hoping to explore the Great Wall or attend a business expo in Shanghai, your trip now hinges on relations between the leadership of the two countries. This isn't just travel regulation. It's a silent sanction, tailored case by case, gatekeeping entry based on perceived political loyalty. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. Number 5. India. India has long offered American tourists an easy route through its e-visa system, welcoming millions to explore its temples, tech hubs, and vast landscapes. But in 2025, the subcontinent's digital warmth has turned bureaucratically cold. India hasn't revoked e-visas. Instead, it's upgraded the process into a complex matrix of biometric checks, background reviews, and meticulous itinerary approvals. The change is subtle, but suffocating. So what changed? Part of the answer lies in Trump's approach to South Asia. His administration's military push, pressuring India to act as a counterbalance to China, stirred domestic debates within India. Simultaneously, Trump's push for mass surveillance partnerships and his aggressive stance on immigration elsewhere made New Delhi cautious. Today, Americans applying for Indian e-visas must submit biometric data, high-resolution passport photos, detailed travel itineraries, and in some cases, additional proof of purpose, especially if they plan to visit sensitive regions like Kashmir, Arunachal Pradesh, or areas bordering Pakistan or China. Tourists say the system feels more like a digital border checkpoint than a welcoming formality. Delays are frequent, errors are common, and even small discrepancies can mean visa rejection. India insists the goal is national security, citing border threats and the need for tighter control in a volatile region. But the real message is larger. India is reasserting its role as a major global player and demanding that even powerful allies like the US go through the proper channels. So yes, you can still chase the monsoon in Kerala or witness the Taj Mahal's glow at sunrise, but only if your digital paperwork survives India's upgraded firewall. Number 4. Australia. Australia used to be that breezy ally, relaxed entry rules, electronic visas issued in minutes, and a reputation for welcoming tourists with open arms. But in 2025, the Australian ETA system is anything but relaxed. Behind its friendly interface now lies one of the most sophisticated digital vetting systems in the world. Sure, the Electronic Travel Authority requirement for Americans has existed for years, but what's new in 2025 is how aggressively the system now screens applicants. And it's not just for major red flags like criminal records. Americans are being flagged for things as minor as unpaid traffic fines in other countries, expired study permits, or frequent travel patterns that suggest dual residency, tax avoidance, or unclear intent. Australia has begun using real-time data exchanges with global law enforcement and immigration authorities. If you overstayed a visa in the UK 5 years ago, or forgot to pay a public fine in Germany, the Australian ETA system might already know. So why the change? Because Australia is redefining its immigration philosophy, being American is no longer a free pass. Trump's unpredictable diplomacy, withdrawal from global climate agreements, and public jabs at even friendly nations have reminded Australia that trust has to be verified, not assumed. If Trump thought that allies like Australia would give Americans a diplomatic free ride, Canberra just proved otherwise. The message? We will smile at you, but we are checking your background first. Number 3. Kenya. Kenya, a rising giant in African tourism and tech, is no longer letting people just walk in. As of January 2024, Kenya has permanently eliminated visa-on-arrival privileges, even for countries like the United States. Previously, Americans could land at Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta Airport, get a stamp, and head straight for the savannah. Not anymore. Now you need to apply for an electronic travel authorization before your flight. No ETA, no entry, no exceptions. And Kenya isn't just adjusting travel policy, it's making a political statement. Kenya is positioning itself as a global leader in high-end tourism, infrastructure innovation, and digital governance. And with that ambition comes the desire to control its borders like a sovereign equal, not a subordinate. This is part of a larger African shift. Countries like Namibia, Ghana, and Rwanda are upgrading immigration tech and tightening policies, not to keep people out, but to force fair treatment. For decades, African travelers have stood in long U.S. embassy lines, paid high visa fees, and endured humiliating rejections. Now, African nations are returning the favor, not out of revenge, but to demand reciprocity. Trump's casual dismissal of Africa has only accelerated this transformation. Kenyan policymakers are no longer waiting for validation from Washington. They are asserting control and requiring that even American travelers play by the same rules. The result? A more structured, respected, and dignified African travel system. But for American tourists and business people, this means planning ahead, filling forms, paying processing fees, and most of all, realizing the world is no longer bowing down to the U.S. passport. Number 2. Japan. Japan, long seen as one of America's closest allies in Asia, has started to signal that blind trust is no longer policy. In 2025, Tokyo began testing what might become one of the most sophisticated digital border systems in the world, the Japanese Electronic System for Travel Authorization, or JESTA. It's not officially mandatory yet, but some American travelers are already being quietly asked to submit details online before entering the country. Make no mistake, JESTA isn't a trial balloon. It's a warning shot. Japan is watching the shifting world order. When Trump walked away from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, sidelined Japan in major tech agreements, and flirted with aggressive trade policies, Japan took note. What was once a dependable alliance is now considered volatile. Japan, known for its precision and preparation, is not going to be caught off guard again. That's why JESTA is being quietly rolled out. It begins with selected groups, travelers from certain U.S. states, visitors attending sensitive events, or those flagged for incomplete itineraries. But insiders say that by 2026, this system could become mandatory for all American tourists. And this isn't just about travel documents. It's about data sovereignty, political alignment, and technological independence. Japan is building its own firewall, not just to vet who comes in, but to reinforce who controls the terms of international movement. In a world where American citizens once moved freely with a flash of their blue passports, Japan is drawing a new line. We will still serve you sushi, but only after you fill out the form. Number 1. Bhutan. Nestled in the Himalayas, Bhutan may be tiny in size, but in 2025, it will hold one of the toughest entry bars in the world, especially for Americans. Yes, U.S. citizens have always needed a visa, but now, the barriers are even steeper. Every traveler must book their trip through a licensed Bhutanese tour operator, pay a Sustainable Development Fee, SDF, of over $200 per day, and commit to detailed pre-approved itineraries. This isn't tourism. This is a philosophy. Bhutan doesn't measure success by GDP, but by gross national happiness. Its policy is high value, low volume, meaning no flash mobs of Instagrammers, no drunken bar hopping, and definitely no disrespect for sacred traditions or fragile mountain ecosystems. But why the tougher rules now? Because Bhutan, like other countries on this list, is tired of the entitlement. Trump's bombastic tone toward smaller nations, his dismissive rhetoric, isolationist policies, and failure to support environmental cooperation directly clash with Bhutan's values. And Bhutan isn't retaliating with sanctions or speeches. Instead, it's doing what it does best, preserving dignity with silence and policy. Therefore, if you are an American and want to visit Bhutan in 2025, you will need more than just money. You will need humility. Americans are still welcome, but only if they come with respect, not arrogance. You won't be allowed to roam freely. You won't be able to bargain or demand. Bhutan is not your playground. It's a sovereign nation that makes you earn your visit. What do you think? Should more countries end visa waivers for the United States? Or do you think Americans should not be punished for what Trump is doing? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on whether countries should offer visa-free travel only when the United States does the same for them. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs, things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.